Something so simple where when you get a raise, when you get a new job, when you come into some money, not immediately saying, where can I spend this money? How can I elevate my expenses?
So these things that we desire, these things that we want, the big TVs and the big homes and the nice new car, they end up trapping us in a career that doesn't fulfill us. And when you're in a career that doesn't fulfill you, you don't end up getting that much better at it because you don't really want to get better at it.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, number 1121. What's your genius zone today for episode number 1122? One simple money mistake to avoid. I remember, Alan, I was, how old was I? Maybe 22, 23. And I had gotten this new job. I got this job and I was working as a forklift operator at a construction supply company in Framingham, Massachusetts. And I was
Good old Framingham.
Good old Framingham. I was making $14 an hour, up from, I actually think it was down from my previous job because I was a personal trainer and I made more money but less money because I only had a certain amount of sessions per week. So I was getting $14 an hour, 40 hours a week minimum. Usually we worked 10 to 15 hours of overtime, which truly was the bane of my existence. I did not like working overtime. Now I work 80 hours a week, and there is no overtime. Maybe not 80, but I remember that I said, well, I'm making $14 an hour, so 14 times 40, $560 a week. So that's like $2,000 a month, $2,180 per month before any overtime. At the time, I was living at home. Didn't have any other bills. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get a car. So I went to test drive this car. It was a 2013 Subaru WRX. So this was in 2013. That's the year this was because I bought my car brand new. No, it's 2011 because I bought my car brand new. So I go and I test drive a car, and it was a used car. And they wanted like $30,000 for it. And I said, it's used. I can get a brand new one for like $1,000 more. And they're like, that's the price, man. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go buy a new car. So I went to the dealership and I bought a brand new Subaru WRX. I don't remember. I think it was like $30,000, maybe like $27,000, $20,000. I don't remember. But I remember leaving there and it ended up being $419 a month because I had really good credit. So I got a really good, I think my rate was like 2.9% or something. It was good. I had like a pretty good rate, all things considered. And I ended up saying, well, I'm making 5 or 6, 7 times this. It's not that big of a deal. But this is the interesting thing that happened. Later in life, when I wanted to go pursue other things and pursue other jobs, or I went to the fire academy, it was very hard for me to do that because what I did was, when my income got raised, my expenses got raised. So that is what we're talking to you about today. One simple money mistake to avoid. When you make more money, don't go immediately spend more money. Tara and I had a conversation this weekend. I said, why don't you think more people are happy? Like, why don't you think more people chase their dreams and go after their goals and quit jobs that they don't like? And she said, well, I think a lot of it's circumstantial. There's a lot of people out there who they get a job, and in the very beginning of this job, they enjoy it. They haven't seen the negative downsides of this job yet. Maybe the schedule or the hours haven't got to them, whatever it may be. So they go purchase something. They get a house, or they have children, or they get a new vehicle, or whatever it may be. Then a year, 2 years down the line, they're stuck. Because circumstantially, it's very hard for them to lower their expenses because they have made their expenses so high. So that is the goal in this episode. Something so simple where when you get a raise, when you get a new job, when you come into some money, not immediately saying, where can I spend this money? How can I elevate my expenses? A very, very, very good way to set yourself up for the future and also differentiate yourself from many, many people, including however many years ago, Kev, that was.
We have a NLU team member who has been awesome at investing from the very beginning of her life, and recently she was talking about how she has another job and she is really uncertain about it. I guess they have her traveling all over the place, and of course I'll keep this anonymous, but essentially we had a conversation. We sat down, I coached the team, and I said, you do realize that you can just quit that job if you want. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, you don't need the money. And she's like, well, yeah, I guess not. And it's like, that's awesome, right? You've been investing money since you were a kid. Now you can quit that job if you don't want. I said, how long could you survive with your current expenses without another job? She's like, we crunched the numbers. Years and years and years. Now, should she do that? No, of course not, right? You're young. Make sure you're productive in your youth. It's set up that way on purpose, right? When you're young, you're strong and capable and focused on growth, and then you retire way later in life. And some people never retire. I personally won't. But what I will do will evolve, So I was having this conversation with this person, and it's just interesting because most people put themselves in a situation where they can't quit their job if they want. You and I, fortunately, put ourselves in a position where we could quit our jobs and pursue our passion in this business full time. And most people have a lifestyle that is beyond their current capabilities without a given job. And so in a way, you kind of trap yourself into a particular career or a particular job or even a particular industry. And I'll give you an example. So when Kevin and I first started this podcast, Next Level University, it was called the Hyperconscious Podcast.
Taryn was trying to offer me some food. She's so sweet.
No worries. Bring it in. We'll eat it virtually. Kevin will remember this. We essentially were broke and early entrepreneurs and struggling, and we both had some money set aside, luckily, but we weren't generating a lot of revenue. And I was on the side essentially finding new ways to generate revenue, and he came to me, he's like, dude, I need to start making some money. So we started coaching. We actually started coaching for free, and it's really quite awesome because I started Kev, I was thinking about this recently. I started coaching for free 4 years ago, maybe 4.5 years ago, and now I surpassed the 6-figure mark in coaching business, and now we track our revenue, so every single week, and it's wild because it's thousands of dollars every week now. It gets above $2,000 a week, which is crazy sometimes. And so anyways, early on, I had these emails coming through that wanted me to consult for industrial automation, which is the corporate career that I had prior to jumping on NLU or Hyperconscious Podcast train, rather, going all in on my own thing. And Kev was like, why don't you do that? It's $450 an hour. Like, we should be doing that. You should be doing that. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back. I quit corporate for a reason. Like, I don't like that industry. I really don't. And nothing against that industry, but I said essentially this, I don't want to create technologies that take jobs. I want to empower people to go and get and create jobs, which is what we do at NLU. We're helping people, even in this podcast episode, hopefully reinvent yourself and create a career you love. And so I didn't want to go back and get paid a lot of money to do industrial automation. I was done with that. So a lot of people, what they do is they get this new career, and to Taryn's point, they're really loving it at first. And by the way, a lot of companies, I have another client who the company is really good at dressing it up in the beginning. Oh, it's this really amazing company. We have this great company culture. They're very good at, and I want every listener to know this. It's really important to know this. Every company's biggest challenge on the planet, mark my words on this, is how do they attract and retain and grow the best talent. And by talent, I don't mean God-given gifts, for lack of better phrasing. I mean human beings, human resources. Okay, so building the best team is the biggest challenge of every company. Okay. Now, that said, what happens is you get a new job. The company dresses it up just like this client. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. We're going to do all these things. This position's great. And then they come in and they realize, oh, this position is not what I was promised. This is not as awesome as I thought it would be, because the grass is always greener. It looks shinier from the outside than the inside. But at the beginning, the first couple months, I love this job. This is great. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the company. I love the industry. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to buy a new house. So you buy a new house and it's an extra $2,000 a month. And now all of a sudden, you can't quit your job. Now all of a sudden, you can't take a pay cut. Now you have kids. So these things that we desire, these things that we want, the big TVs and the big homes and the nice new car, they end up trapping us in a career that doesn't fulfill us. And when you're in a career that doesn't fulfill you, you don't end up getting that much better at it because you don't really want to get better at it. And so you end up very stuck. And I know a lot of people who end up that way, and I'm very grateful, and I used to tell you this, Kev. Low expenses are a superpower. Low expenses in the beginning are a superpower. If your expenses are only, imagine if your expenses were only $1,000 a month, total, food, everything. You literally can do a side job for 15 hours a week and sustain that and do your side hustle, do your business, whatever it is. If you have high expenses, I have one client, and this is nothing against her because she makes a lot of money, so it's not a big deal, but imagine $15,000 a month. $15,000 a month of expenses, you have no wiggle room. You have to make a lot of money, and a down month, you're in a lot of trouble. And that's why you find out these people who in 2008, 2009, they had to sell their homes, they had to foreclose on their homes, they had to give back their cars, they had to break leases, lease a car and they had to give it back, all kinds of stuff. And that's why when the economy tanks, a lot of us are in trouble because we're overspending. And the one money trick you're talking about, Kev, is keep your expenses low and try to make sure that you don't bump them up the moment you make more revenue.
I've said this before on the podcast, but it's one of my favorite stories. One of my buddies is really, really good with money. He was in the finance department at a very, very big company. And he literally would spend an hour looking at coupons before he went grocery shopping. If there was a buy one, get one deal on meat, he would get 8 packets of meat, to the point where he literally bought a freezer that he would keep on the porch. And anytime there were sales, he would just load up on everything, put it in the freezer and say, we're good to go. And we had this running joke where he would eat chicken patties because they were cheap. And he was not hurting for money. He was making really good money. But that was just his thought was, I want to keep my expenses low. I want to keep my expenses low. I want to keep my expenses low.
Very smart.
And he was very, very focused on that. And that's why he is... Well, he's more financially free than most, but he is well on his way to being very, very successful financially and very financially free. But it's very much you have to make sure that you're not making purchases with your emotions. So let's do this. I wanted to do this because I think this would be fun. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is being authentic and taking you behind the scenes and taking you on the journey with us. Alan's car sucks. It sucks. It's costing us a lot of money. We just poured $2,000 into it. He said, Kev, my muffler's fallen off. I said, cool. I said, what if I get a Mercedes and then I give you my car?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And Alan said, is there any way you can get it to a reasonable price, $250, $300 a month? Could you get it down to that? And I said, yeah, if I work with some numbers, I'm sure we could. And today we had a talk and he said, Kev, honestly, the main thing we have to be focused on right now is you and Tyron's home, and Emilia and I are looking into something as well. And I said, so no Mercedes, huh? And he said, no, it's not the right time right now. Emotionally, and could we make it work? Yes. I mean, we could make it work. It's not like if we did that would be the end of the business. It's just there's not a good enough reason to increase our expenses by $250 to $350 per month when it's not absolutely necessary. That would be more. I
gotta say this too, real quick.
Go ahead.
It's more than that too, because let's say $350 a month for the payment, but that's not including the down payment and the insurance and then the taxes as well, and then the registration. I don't know if the registration is more, but
I don't think so.
There's a lot of expenses, and then the extra gas if it is a nicer engine, right? And so there's a lot of other expenses that people don't factor in. But yeah continue.
What he really wanted to do is he wanted to break my heart. That's what it was.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that's what it is. No.
But when we were talking about that earlier, so it's, as you know, I have to say this at least once a week. It's obligatory. We record our episodes on Monday. We were talking on Monday before recording these, and we had that conversation. We usually talk about business and finance stuff first. But it really makes sense. I mean, if it was up to me, And I was thinking it too. I was like, look, there's a lot of hoops we'd have to jump through to do this. It's not financially the best decision. Emotionally, I'd love it. 10 out of 10. Logically, 1 out of 10. So I think that's really how you have to plan it that way. And if you think of it, there's this show called, I think it's My Dream Lottery Home or something. Tara and I watched it one night because I was like, if it has mansions, I'm in. Like, I will watch anything with mansions. That's one of my favorite things in the world. But it's a little bit alarming when somebody wins $1 million and they go buy a $750,000, $800,000 home, because I know you can afford that right now and maybe there's no mortgage, but you're still going to have to pay property tax. You're still going to have to pay utilities. You're still going to have to pay insurance, and insurance and all that stuff on a home like that is going to get expensive. It's not like you can afford that after you get rid of that $1 million. So that's a whole nother thing. There's a reason a lot of people who win the lottery end up worse off than they were in the beginning, because they didn't have this simple fundamental understanding that the one and only Jeff Lazaros, his name is really Alan, but I call him Jeff, has taught me over the years. And we said this too, and then I'll let you speak before we go. In the very beginning, when we started actually making money, I had Next Level Podcast Solutions. Alan had Next Level Business Solutions. And I was making, I don't know if it was way more money than Alan, but probably double.
It was like 3 times.
Three times. But I was taking home way less. And I kept saying, I don't know what's going on here, man. I'm making a lot of money. And Alan said, well, yeah, but this is the problem. Every time you make more money, you spend more money. And I was like, that's definitely a fact. What do I do about that? And that's where this all came from.
I'm Derek Smith, and I just wanted to talk to you real quick about group coaching. I found it to be very beneficial. The biggest thing that I got from it was definitely the tap out and keeping track of the daily habits. It's much easier to get these priorities done when it's scheduled. That way you know that you're doing them first compared to trying to fit them in later. So scheduling it and getting that done first, and then having something accountable every single day to do those was definitely beneficial. So if you're thinking about giving group coaching a chance, you should definitely do it.
Believe it or not, I know this sounds overly simple, but very few people, I'll share this. I was on the phone with a couple recently, and they're trying to build their financial future together. And that's what Emilia and I are really focused on in Relationship Talks coaching, by the way, if you're ever curious. We're not going to just help you improve your relationship. We're going to help you achieve your dreams together. We talked recently, like, we can definitely help you improve the quality of your day-to-day relationship and fall more in love, of course. But at the end of the day, it's really how can you achieve your dreams together? Which, by the way, when you have 2 people, it makes it you're a lot more empowered when you have 2 incomes. If you have 2 incomes and 2 credit lines and, and then you and I as business partners, like technically it's me, you, Emilia, and Taryn on a team to achieve these things. There's a lot more you can do. And so in Relationship Talks coaching, what we're doing with this couple is they made a we board, which is a vision board that you combine as a couple. And on that is a ranch in the mountains that they want. Totally doable. The ranch is probably going to cost, at the very high end, $700,000. So if they want to really make that happen, all they have to do is be a little bit more strategic every year for the next 7 years. And that's what my brain said. 7 years they could do that. But that's their dream. What if I told you all of your dreams were possible if you just were a little more strategic every day for the next 7 years? You'd be like, hell yes, sign me up. Okay, what does that mean? So this is what I'm getting to. And Kev, someone reached out to you today. You texted me for the Next Level Financial Tracker.
Yep.
I had a client of mine post I have a private WhatsApp group just for my clients that has all my clients in it. And she posted, hey, can you please make a video about how to use this financial tracker? So at NLU, we have something called the Next Level Financial Tracker, which is essentially the tracker that I gave to Kev back when he was like, hey, I'm making all this money. Why aren't I more successful? Why can't I afford anything, essentially? And I told them this is what I told the couple. I said, if you two, and we taught them how to use it, which we need to make a video on how to do that, by the way. But if you two can track your finances once a day for your life, just once a day, take you 10 minutes a day, sit down together, cash out, even if you have to do it individually, meaning one of you do it or the other, right? Switch off, whatever it is. You two will be very financially successful. And here's why. And Kev, you're the CFO, so you do this every single day. Every single day, Kev looks at where we made money and then looks at where we spent money. And then he looks at the difference. That's what the financial tracker will do. And he manually inputs it when we spend money. And so we're constantly, every single day, checking in like, okay, are we making enough? Good. Yes or no. Are we spending too much? Yes or no. Imagine every single day it's a tiny tweak, tiny tweak, tiny tweak. That runway, so to speak, is going to let your financial plane take off in this analogy. And if anyone wants it, you can reach out. I am going to create a video on how to actually use it because it is, I don't want to say it's complex. It only has 5 columns. It's very, very simple. It's essentially total in, which is money in. How much did you spend? What's the difference? Meaning the daily delta. In other words, how much money did you make or lose that day in a given day? And then it's debt. And if you have debts, it'll help you pay off your debts. And then there's a column for an experience review, which is where are you winning and where are you going to improve? And it's that simple, once a day, just like peak performance tracking. But my point here is being a little bit more money conscious of like where you're making money, how can I make more money, and then where you're spending it. And to this simple trick that Kevin's referring to, when you do earn more revenue, like we made, you said 15,000 last month?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to share this mistake that Kevin and I made because we're guilty of this too. In February of 2022, we made $47,000, right?
Yes.
42? 47?
I think it was either 42 or 47. It was a very, very good month.
Very good month. Best month we ever had, I think, to date.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Kevin and I, we reallocated some funds. We started to reinvest in a bunch of stuff. As a matter of fact, this is one of the mistakes we made. We decided we were going to have a quarterly budget for weekend getaways.
Well, and we paid off a lot of debt. I think that was probably the bigger mistake.
We paid off like 3 credit cards all in one shot, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Which again, as far as mistakes go, that's on the lower end, right? Because obviously we're paying interest and all that. But here's my point. Just because you have a huge month does not mean you should bump your lifestyle up to that, because the chances of you having another huge month in life is very slim. Everything is highs, lows, ebbs, and flows. So you got to be very careful to look at a trend line over a longer term and try not to think of it like Stoic finance. The Stoics never get too high or too low about anything. So when you are having a good month, don't suddenly bump up your expenses and go buy a bunch of stuff. And you have a low month, don't freak out either. You know what I mean? Like there's a way to stay centered in this process, and hopefully that's what this episode can at least help you do.
Well, and that's why I mentioned the original car thought came from us saying like, Alan, maybe it's time for a new vehicle for you. You know, maybe we should just get something new. And I know you don't value cars as much as I do, and you don't really go anywhere. So I can just give you my car, which it's already in the business, and I'll just get a new car because I'll actually use it, and I love cars. But that was from the aspect of I looked at our expenses, and we spent $2,000 last month on Alan's car. So that's what that was. It was like if that $2,000 wasn't there and it was only $250 or whatever, that would be a good thing. Now, obviously, there's more that goes into that, but that was the inspiration, the motivation, the necessity for us to actually have that conversation in the first place. So I figured I would add context there. Money.
Fire.
Money with Jeff and Jeff.
Yeah, fire. Last thing real quick. It was 1,700 or was it 2,000?
I don't know. I round up. I think it was like 1,700.
Okay.
Close enough to 2,000 for my liking.
Presupposing my car actually didn't have the muffler issue.
Well,
right after that.
Yeah.
We literally had a conversation. We were like, okay, we're going to put the 1,700 into my Subaru, and that's going to last us another couple years because we're going to focus on the homes. Emilia and I want to buy a second home. Taryn and Kevin are going to get a home. That's what we're focused on. And obviously, the business, expenses, team, you name it. There's a lot more that goes into this. But again, we can't go that deep. So that 1,700 was supposed to be an investment that pays off for the next 2 years. Mm. And unfortunately, I ended up hitting a pothole apparently, and my right muffler fell off. So it ended up being... So it's important to understand that even when you make good choices, sometimes bad things happen. Yeah. And when you make bad choices, sometimes good things happen. So that's another episode, though.
And I always go to Alan too and say like, hey, I knew logically it wasn't a 10 out of 10 to get a new vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I knew that because I knew that could in the long run jeopardize the house because it's like, why bring on more expenses? And that's going to be a whole thing. So it's very important to make sure that you sit down and last thing, another dollar in the jar. Speaking of that, we'll be losing money. You and I say another dollar in the jar here. The first thing that happened when Tara and I started talking about buying a house was I went to Alan and said, okay, what do you need to know? Because you're going to help us reverse engineer, like, what's the best way to do it? Although I'm the CFO, Alan knows way more about money and finances and numbers than I do. And he said, this is a list of the numbers I need. Cool. Then we can make a more intelligent decision based on what the expenses are, what the income is, all this other stuff. What's the debt, all that happy jazz. So everything is made on a logical decision basis. And that's important to state. Next, Level Nation. We have a private Facebook group. It's called Next Level Nation. It's the best private Facebook group in the world, according to me and Alan. Do we have any? There's no awards. We've never been given an award. People have said it's good. And
the number one movie in America.
The number one movie in America for the
on
8th
October
straight
1st.
week, seen by 2 people one time. It's a group where you can be yourself, and I really think that we use social media, and I think everybody's kind of not themselves on social media. I think we show the best versions of ourselves. I really think that Next Level Nation is a place where you can be the most authentic version of yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You can ask for help. You can show your mistakes. You can show your successes. That's really what we want to have. If you want to be part of a Next Level community, please join. It will be in the show notes. You are welcome. We'd love to have you.
We had several people. It was interesting. We went from, holy crap, how are we going to fill group 8? Because we were focused on other stuff, to holy crap, we actually have 12 people in group 8, and we have to turn down several people they'll be in group 9. The landing page for group 9 is complete. So if you click the link in the show notes, check it out. Group 9, again, will fill up. They always do. Please lock your spot sooner. We have it set up to where the 6-month payment plan is, I think, $68.52 or something like that. It's less than $69 for the 6-month payment plan. Group coaching is such a well-polished product at this point. You've got a workbook, team of 10 people. You've heard it a bunch. Check out the landing page. At very least, watch the video. It's a 1.5 minutes of Kevin and I explaining exactly why you should do it and what you're going to get out of it. For $83 a month, for $69 a month for 6 months, there is no greater return on your investment, in my honest opinion. Group coaching is such a game changer. I'm already seeing Group 12, members of it, absolutely transformed. There's something about being in a group.
You keep saying
Group 8.
Group
I keep
12.
saying
You're
Group
just
7.
Group 12.
Oh, because they have 12 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're in the
Group 8.
future. You're already talking about Group 12.
Group 8 has 12 people. They just, what was it, Goalkeepers? Was the name?
Goalkeepers, yes.
Goalkeepers. They just chose their name. So
it's a good one.
Shout out to Group 8. Shout out to Group 8. Group 9 will be starting on January 3rd. If you want to kickstart 2023 off right, that is the play. Maybe you can give it as a Christmas present to somebody. That would be cool too. So go to the landing page, click the link in the show notes, check out the video. Let us know your thoughts.
Yes, please join Group 99. Thank you very much. Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1123. Is it possible to have more than one Genius Zone? Last week's live Q&A. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.